The 3 study hacks that I'm about to share are so offensively obvious, I'm not even sure if they actually count as facts. And yet, in almost every class, before almost every exam, I see a lot of my peers who do not do these 3 simple things. And I think that they are so simple that they're not even technically hacks, but if you go about doing these, if you are already doing these 3 things, or if you're listening to this video and you realize you need to utilize these things in a more direct, straightforward way, I am telling you, your study methods are already light years ahead of a lot of your peers. And then after that, can you start going into the more fine-tuning study hacks, the study hacks that work per subject, because you're not going to study for a history exam in the same way you're going to be studying for a calculus exam. Let's dive right into it, and you'll have to let me know. Are these common sense, or are they actually what you would consider to be study hacks? The first study hack is to simply listen to what your professor tells you to study. Now, not every professor is going to give you a step-by-step, hand-holding kind of guide for an exam, but I have found it is not uncommon for a professor to drop hints before an exam. Or some professors might tell you that the exam has X numbers of questions. I'm going to tell you that one of those questions on your economic exam involves the income effect. If your professor tells you that, what are you going to do? You're going to go into that exam knowing the income effect forwards and backwards. Don't let yourself get surprised when your professor tells you point blank it is going to be there. Now, I will say a little disclaimer here. I have found that I have had several professors who will heavily hint at something or even tell you what's going to be on the exam, and it's not on the exam. I recently had one where a professor told us to study primarily the last couple chapters we did on our final because it was cumulative. It was mainly going to be the last couple chapters. Why was our exam on chapter 3? That one caught me a little by surprise, let's say that. But for the most part, if your professor tells you something, listen, write it down, and study that thing. The second study hack is especially important if your professor doesn't provide any kind of study guide, doesn't give you any sort of hints other than it'll be on, the chapters that we covered in the class. And that is to actually utilize the materials you are given. I think I am one of the rare few people, at least in the classes I've taken this semester, that actually looks at the PowerPoints outside of class. And I know there's a lot of stereotypes with PowerPoints, and people think they're not that helpful, or if a professor teaches the class just reading the slides, that's annoying. And sure, I definitely see that, but actually utilizing the PowerPoints as a study guide, your professor is putting what they are teaching on the slides. They are taking stuff out of the textbook and pinpointing exactly what they want you to know. You also have your notes that you can study with. You have potentially study guides, potentially practice problems, things that your professors might upload as resources, and you have your textbook. Now, in the last 2 semesters, I have noticed that textbooks I think they're starting to become very optional. I have some textbooks I don't even crack open in the entire semester, and yet I keep buying them because sometimes you do need that $130 textbook, even if it's for only one question and 1 page. So with all that being said, utilize your resources. Don't forget that you have things. If you're in a position where you don't even know where to start with studying, start by reading the PowerPoints. Start by glancing over your notes again. Utilize what you have in front of you. That is going to be a lifesaver for your exam. This third and final hack is the one that was the most shocking to me when I realized a lot of my peers were not doing it. If your professor is letting you bring a cheat sheet to the exam, bring your cheat sheet to the exam. Do not be frantically putting it together 5 minutes before the exam starts. No, that is something you bring with you already ready-made. In fact, I personally use my cheat sheet as part of my study guide. I kind of consider it a study guide I've made for myself. I will go through all of the PowerPoint slides, all of my notes that I've taken in class, and I will write down, let's say for statistics, every single formula I might possibly need. And I write down rules too. So for example, if the p-value is less than alpha, you reject the null. I know that forwards and backwards, but you better believe I'm writing that down as a part of my practice cheat sheet. I usually end up with 3 or 4 pages of these notes, and then I condense them down into what I'm actually going to have on my exams cheat sheet. For this one particular class, I was lucky enough, a computer-sized paper, forwards and back. I had that thing jam full. A lot of the stuff I didn't even need, but I'm not going to waste the opportunity to bring everything to the exam. Do not make your cheat sheet 5 minutes before the exam. I am begging you, please do yourself the favor. Make your cheat sheet before the exam. Possibly, if able to, days before. I truly do mean it when I say that utilizing these 3 study hacks as something that you're not even thinking about. You just immediately, yeah, duh, I'm going to be looking at my notes before the exam. If you have that outlook, if that is how you are studying, your methods are already light years ahead of a lot of your peers. Now, are these things the be-all, end-all of studying? No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of studying that goes way beyond these things, that there are a lot of hacks that might work better for you than they do for somebody else. You might think, okay, for me personally, if I'm studying math, I do it this way, and there's more, I guess, depth to it. Absolutely. And maybe the people who are making their cheat sheets 5 minutes before the exam, who knows? Maybe they got 100% on everything. I don't know. But personally, to me, these 3 study hacks are the way to go. So hopefully they help you out. And I mean, this is a study hack video. I have to wish you a good luck on your studies.